video, I will be taking a short trip to one of my local secondhand bookstores. Specifically, what I am on the lookout for is number one, anything horror. That is the one thing about this bookstore is it's really hard to find horror books. They have a lot of like general fiction and they have a little bit of like sci-fi fantasy, but the horror is like kind of sparse and mixed in. You really have to have like a good eye, but I do find a couple things. I'm also on the lookout for thrillers, mystery, and then I like classics, and I do love collecting like older antique books. You could always find something like really different and quirky that I've never heard of before. I invite you guys to come along with me, relax, and let's go hunting for some great books together. This is my favorite place to start. It is all of the adult fiction hardcovers. I ended up spotting a little 𝚆𝙸𝚃𝙷 McFadden section. I have never read from her, but I keep hearing her thrillers are super addictive. How creepy is this cover? Mine by Robert McCammon. The vintage horror thriller energy is so strong here. I did not grab this one, but honestly, I keep thinking about that wild cover. Now this one might be one of the coolest finds of the day, 𝚲𝙃 by James Herbert. It's literally about killer rats. I really love how colorful and dramatic these vintage covers are. I also spotted a copy of The House of Seven Gables, which had such a beautiful cover. A gothic classic about guilt, ghosts, and family curses. I have read this one and I actually rated it 5 stars. I love Jewel's music, and fun fact, we actually share the same birthday. Old antique books like this are my weakness, and it even had a handwritten inscription inside from 1925. This is my favorite Agatha Christie book actually, and I still do not own a copy for my shelf, so I was tempted. But I did not love the movie cover edition, so I ended up passing on this one. A little bit further down the shelf, I found a few more. The first one was Black Coffee. I read a portion of this one, but I did not end up finishing it. I was not a huge fan. And I ended up finding another copy of Death on the Nile. This one really tempted me. I kept coming back to it. This is one with the 1978 movie cover. I almost grabbed it, but decided to wait until I found my perfect edition. I really loved this gorgeous bind up of Miss Marple stories. I actually have not read any of the Miss Marple books because I keep trying to finish all of the Poirot books before I start any of the other like Agatha Christie series. But honestly, maybe it's time I just dive in because finishing all the Poirot books is not within the near future. The next stop for me was the children's section. I always take a quick browse through the children's section because I'm hoping to find some vintage Goosebumps books. But all I ended up finding here was a spin-off from the 2015 movie. The next thing I found was a novelization of the Addams Family Values movie. I was so tempted by this one. It had movie stills inside, which was so cool and nostalgic for me. This whole little shelf here was a shelf themed around green covers. So every single book was in different shades of green. And green is actually my favorite color, so resisting all of these books was so hard for me. Honestly, I could have stayed here forever. I spent the majority of my time on this day looking at this little shelf of old antique books. So I had to narrow down my selection here. The next thing that stood out to me was this book here called 𝚲𝙾𝙽𝙃𝙷. I was immediately pulled in by that cover. It reminded me of The Haunting of Hill House, which is my favorite book. Back in the adult fiction section, I was on the hunt for some thrillers. Things were a bit sparse and I had a hard time finding much, but I still had a couple of good ones I found. I also found a ton of puzzles and it was amazing to me. They were only $3 each. Last year, I actually went through a huge puzzle phase. I was collecting puzzles like crazy. I was going to the grocery store like every weekend buying new puzzles. I wish I had come here. Finally, the classic section was the last little area that I browsed on this day. This is one of my favorite areas to look through. They had this really beautiful copy of Hungry Hill. Never read this one, but the edition was so pretty. I was so tempted by it. They also had a lot of Jane Austen books and they were in really perfect condition. I do already own all of these, but I was very tempted by that edition of Pride and Prejudice. The only thing that held me back is that I'm trying to not collect duplicate copies of the same book because I don't need duplicate copies. And I love the edition of Pride and Prejudice I already have. This book, The Seagull, had such a pretty vintage cover and it was only $3. The last book that caught my eye was this one, 𝚲𝙃 by Charlotte Bronte. It's been on my TBR and when I opened it up, I noticed that it had a few handwritten notes inside from the previous owner, which really made me want this book even more. It's about a lonely young woman starting a new life at a boarding school in a foreign city. And that was my bookstore adventure for the day. I found so many hidden gems, old favorites, and a few I am still thinking about. All right, let's head home and I'll show you what I actually ended up buying. I definitely ended up picking up a little bit more than I wanted to on this trip, but like I said, the prices were so good and I kept finding like really unique, cool things that I couldn't leave them there. I wanted them. My first thing that I ended up bringing home with me was one of those older, when I went through the shelf of like all of the green books, green is actually my favorite color and I love, like I said, collecting these like older antique books like this. So when I seen all the green ones, like my eyes just like bulged and I was like, oh my god, I need everything. So the one that I'm probably most excited about is this one called All About African Violets, and the cover is so beautiful. It has like this beautiful little illustration of an African violet on there. And then this book, it looks like, was actually published in 1951, if you can see that. I will be flipping through this and just getting some inspiration, I guess. I love plants. I love collecting plants. I've actually never bought an African violet. I see them all the time. I've never bought one. Maybe I will have to buy an African violet now and like set it right next to this book or something, keep this book next to it. And okay, so this book was only $3. So I thought that was like an incredible find. I'm so happy with this one. The next book that I ended up buying, bringing home with me, was that book on trees that I found. And this one was as well only $3. I loved the illustrations on the hardback of the leaves and the pine cones. It's just like so fall. The thing with this one is it did have a broken spine, but that does not bother me in the least. I am going to mostly just keep this book closed and just admire it. I'm not going to really be like opening it up and further damaging it. So this is going to sit on my shelf as like a beautiful little display book. The next one that I ended up bringing home with me, oh my gosh, I just noticed something. Okay, the next book I ended up bringing home with me was this little baby right here called A Field Guide to the Birds. I love plants, I love birds, I love nature. So anytime I find like one of these antique books that's about any of those subjects, it's like an automatic buy for me. And this one, I lost the price tag in the store, but she either charged me $2 or $3 for this one. What I just noticed on the back is so random. It has a ruler on it, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know like why they had a ruler on there, but it's kind of a cool little detail. And then this front page right here, it just tells you about all the different kinds of birds. I've been breezing through this and just looking at some of these really pretty pictures, and this was the one that really stood out to me. It's the one of woodpeckers. So we get a lot of woodpeckers actually in my yard, in my neighborhood, and especially these ones right here, hairy and downy woodpeckers. I see those all the time on our trees. And then this one right here, a northern flicker. I have found feathers from these northern flickers before, and they are like the most beautiful, beautiful feathers you've ever seen. And I just think woodpeckers are the cutest little birds, especially these little downy ones. They are like the size of a mouse, and they're so cute when they go on the trees. So that one really stood out to me. I put like a little bookmark in there. So I was really, really, really excited. So excited about these 3 finds right here. The next book that I ended up taking home with me is this book right here called The House in Paris. When Diane Peters found a place as governess in the wealthy 𝙲𝙃 household, it seemed her problems were solved. The 𝙲𝙃s seemed an ideal family from the outside, but once within their elegant mansion, Diane found herself trapped in a web of terror. This one really caught my eye because it looked like a very gothic. This cover grabbed me. It has these really pretty blue sprayed edges, but it sounds very, very interesting. So I was excited to buy this one. And the final book that I ended up buying on this trip is this copy of 𝚲𝚃 by 𝚲𝚃 Brontë. So I recently added this book to my TBR because I believe I was looking at recommendations. I was looking at some sort of like recommendations list. It was only $2. It's not like brand new condition, like it's definitely been read and loved. It's actually been a little bit annotated by the previous owner, and that is another selling point to me that made me want this book even more, was these annotations in here. I love finding an annotated book. Okay, so that was all the books I found, and then there was one more little thing I grabbed. So this, like I said, this is a Goodwill. It's just books, but they do put a little bit of like household items, like little trinkets and stuff around the store, and you can also buy those things. I ended up buying this little Halloween mug. So it just looks like this. It has like witches' hats, pumpkins, bats, and on the inside I think it says Happy Halloween. And the reason that I also really wanted this was because I have this exact cup but in a different pattern. So I'll show you guys. This is actually my favorite mug, and I drink like all my teas and coffees pretty much in this mug, so it's really stained, so don't judge me how stained it is. But it's a haunted house, and you guys know there is like nothing more that I love than a haunted house. So yeah, and it has witches and ghosts. That mug was actually only $2, so $2. I mean, come on. And it looks brand new. Like, I bet this person, whoever, it doesn't look used at all. I do like mugs a lot. I definitely have way too many mugs. So that was everything. That was everything that I bought at, okay, you know what? I bought one more thing, okay? I bought one more thing. I bought this little garland. It's like a Halloween garland, but I'm deciding to redonate it because I bought it and I can't fit it anywhere in my decor and it just doesn't fit. So I already put it in like a donate pile. But this was everything else that I bought on this short little trip. I would love to know if any of the books that I shared in this video caught your eye, if you would have picked up any of these that I ended up showing. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.